Tcheta, which considered old capital of Georgia. So if we go back, Georgia is divided with two main parts in general. So it's very common for many countries, I'm sure, but for Georgia, same thing for Georgia. So if you take Georgia, our country is between Greater and South Caucasus mountain system, and there is in the middle, there is mountain ridge, which splits country with two geographical and historical parts. And so once someone filming, it makes me a little shy, honestly. And historically, there was two parts. Western Kingdom was known as a Colchis Kingdom, when Eastern Kingdom was known as a Kartli. And Kartli. That's because of Kartlos, from the descendant of Noah. Nowadays we have 12 regions in Georgia, and one of the region is Kartli, which became base for our name of our country. So, and shortly, what I wanted to say is that Tcheta was like a capital of Eastern Georgian Kingdom, and nowadays it's like a pilgrimage place for all Orthodox people around the world, not for us, for Georgians. First place we're going today is Sveti Tshoveli, and Sveti Tshoveli means column of the soul. So column of the soul. Now I'm going to explain what does it mean for us. Case is that in the first century, while our Lord Jesus Christ lived before his crucifixion, locals were informed. Local Jews were informed that they must attend the crucifixion of some person who considered himself as a god. For that time in Tcheta, people were praying for the idols. Idol worship was a very common thing for that. There was like erected 3 idols above the mountain, and people were praying for the idols. But there was still living some communities who were believer of God, and there was one priest, Abiathar, who was believer of the God, and so two person once before crucifixion of Jesus Christ, all of the Jewish people were like invited on that judgment. So they went, and their names were Longinos and Gaius. And as we read this in the history of Catholic history of Georgia, they were attended but did not take part to in judgment. But instead of that, they became believers, believers of Jesus Christ, and then they brought robe of the Jesus Christ. With one of the version, they bought it from the Roman soldiers. So once after crucifixion of Jesus Christ, people, believers, decide to keep the holy parts, of course, and to preserve this one from unbelievers. And that's for Roman soldiers, it does not mean too much, robe of the Jesus Christ, but for the prayers for the believers, it means too much. So once they came here, they called it the robe of the. Once they came here, they had like a sister called Sidonia. Sidonia, who kept that robe of the Jesus Christ, and because of emotions, she became so happy about it. The fact that he was like such a blessed that she was able to like hold that like a robe of the Jesus Christ. Because of emotions, she passed away. She passed away, and no one could remove that robe of the Jesus Christ from her. And so they were. She was buried with this robe of the Jesus Christ. So it was happened in first century, as we know, and after a few centuries, exactly 4th century, after King Miriam and Queen Nana became converted to Christianity, and that's another story how they made it, how Saint Nino made them believe in God. The king decided to cut like a tree down, tree which was raised on the tomb of that Mother Sidonia. So once they wanted to cut this tree down, this tree, like a column, was raised, and this column was raised, and that's why it's associated with the raised soul. So once we arrive at destination, maybe it will be more easier for me to explain detailed information about it. Also, it is very well described on the icon also, and I'm going to show you that icon which is authentic, and maybe you find something interesting in it. So that's good. Like questions, it makes me more enthusiastic to explain something really. So once this tree raised there, people still we are not believers. There was just a few people were praying, and they were informed that there was like a tree was grown on that burial, and there was like a minority of people who were praying, but majority of people we are like idol worship still. But he was informed that there were some people who were praying, and they considered that tree is a holy tree, but we are not interested until Saint Nino. We are not interested until Saint Nino appeared. So Saint Nino was Cappadocian woman who saw the dream that Virgin Mary gave her the cross and said to go to this land and preach Christianity and made people believe in the God. Within some resources, she came to this land because he wanted to visit this holy place. It was happening in 4th century. And she came from Cappadocia, from south part of Georgia, and once she crossed the border, she followed river Tvary to reach Mtskheta, because she was informed by local shepherds that if she wanted to reach Mtskheta, this capital, this town, she must visit. She must go through the river. So once she arrived in Mtskheta, she was really disappointed, as she saw that most of the people were really believers, and she was not exempted. Of course, once she started like preaching Christianity, no one was believing her for sure until she made some miracles. She started living in a blackberry bush. We are going to see this place today. Once we go to Samtaura Monastery, she was living in a blackberry bush, and she was praying. She was praying all the time. So she became very famous very soon, because she was helping sick people to heal very soon. But it was very hard to convince king and queen in religion. That's why until one day Queen Nana became very sick. For that time, the ruler was King Miriam and Queen Nana, and their tombs are in Samtauro Monastery as well. That's why it's very important place for us. So and Queen Nana became very sick, and no one could heal her disease. And then she was advised that there was some lady who was was known that she was making miracles, and she was able to heal her disease. So Queen Nana invited her to invite Nino to visit her, but Saint Nino said that if she wanted to if she wanted to really heal, she must respect her, and she must visit her instead of opposite. So instead of visiting Nino to the Queen must visit him to Nino, but to the capital. So once Queen Nana became healed, and she became a believer, there is a legend that the king still was not believing in the God, but until one day he didn't went to the hunting, and he lost, and he was very afraid, very afraid, and he was very afraid, and everything became dark around, and that's why spread the legend to say everything became very dark around, and he started praying for their idol, but nothing was changed until he didn't ask God of Saint Nino for help, and then everything became light, and after that, as it's written in the history of Georgia, he became a believer. And in 336, in some resources, 326, Georgia became like a Christian country. Georgia became a Christian country, and it was few years after Armenia. So Armenia got Christianity in 301. So their enlightener is Saint Gregory, and they consider like an earlier Christian country than Georgia from this perspective. So after they became believers, then king decided to cut this tree, which was considered as a holy tree, because he wanted to build a church on this place, on this holy place, and they wanted to use this as a pillar, like a tree. They wanted to use as a pillar, but no one could move that pillar, and no one could use that pillar from a place to another place until Saint Nino did not made it to move with her praying and with her blessing. So they built first church on this place, and they built first church on this place, and this place was wooden in the beginning, and then restoration works was conducted in 12th century. And nowadays, Svetitskhovely Cathedral is really one of the best examples of Georgian churches, honestly. And I will tell you why. So if you like architecture, you will easily notice that it's a very unique style, which means it's a asymmetrical style. I mean, which is very local thing, and it's very common in Georgia. I would say. So it's for example, if you take like a different parts of the walls, they are not same. So I mean, they are shapes, they are figures, they are like ornaments. They look different from each other. So, and after praying and blessing of Saint Nino, this pillar was raised, and we can consider that as a column of the soul. So that's what Svetitskhovely means. Svetitskhovely Cathedral also was like a burial place for royal families, for Bagrationi families who ruled the country almost more than like 8 centuries, and there is like a burial of King Vakhtang Gorgasali, who established Tbilisi, who established our capital. Also, it belongs like a burial tomb of like Erikli II, and also some like a priest or Catholicoses and so on. So just I want to tell you something. Before Saint Nino, first Nino, the first Christian who stepped on our land was Saint Andrew, the Apostle Andrew. That's why once we go to the church, to Sveti Holy Cathedral, there is many like a few like chapels, right? Few places which are dedicated to different saints, and on the left side there is like a church which is like which is dedicated to the Saint Andrew. Yes, here we already see Sveti Holy Cathedral, and also in Saint Andrew, once we go there is like a holy part on his foot, because it's not accidental, because he was the first Christian who stepped on our land. That's why it's very associated. It's very symbolic. Right? It's very symbolic. So one more thing also. Once we became Christian country, after King built the church, he also decided to erect a 3 cross above the 3 mountain. And one of the places where he erected the mountain was Jwari Monastery, which means cross monastery, and which located on the hill on the right side, which is under clouds at the moment. And we are going to visit this place also. Tbilisi means like a warm place. Tbili means warm. So I mentioned this yesterday, if you remember. Yes, that's because like a super hot water first of all, once he found out this like social area, or it's like it's said like it's legend, but in fact he was interested about this place, so he decided to go there. Here is like a historical explanation that Tbilisi was much better, more safe, because it was easier to build some fortificated systems, fortresses. It's much better to build, and also it was more safe and more huge territory. That's why, because if we take Tsketa itself is between the rivers and between the mountains, and probably it was not able to like hold more people, but we are expecting to extend the population as well for the future. And capital was not moved by himself, but it was his will, and his son was made to make these changes. Yeah, so we call that like a less Caucasus Mountains, which is located in the south, and the north located like a greater Caucasus Mountains. Greater because it's for higher altitude. Tbilisi you can consider like a more north part. It's not Tbilisi is not on a very high altitude. So if you really want to see like a really mountainous areas, you must visit like a northern part of the country. Yes, Azbek is one place, for example, and we see like a there's the Juari Monastery. Juari means the cross. So once you go to the church inside, there is like a wooden cross erected on the cliff on the rock. So this rock on which stone it is erected, it considered that it's origin place where old cross was erected as well.
في أحلى سيادة في الدير ما طريق لور.
على الرصيف مزرق معقولة؟
First monastery on the top. They built, so first they erected the cross in 4th century, but the church itself it dates back to end of 5th and beginning of 6th century. Now it was destroyed and restored many times, and nowadays we can say that it's restored in medieval time.
شكلهم هلك هذا عنده طريق
We can consider all of the mountains.
It sounds like
the south, even in Armenia also is part of Caucasus mountain system. But they have their own names, like in every hill for sure, like Armazi or Trialeti or.
ساعات هناك الغاز عن طريق
Earthquakes and it's mountainous country, and you can imagine that our geographical location cause many natural disasters for sure.
هلا حسب عمرك
عمره بال 20 سنة
كبروا
شو جينا عليه اول شيء؟ لا